looks good. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Wantagh Middle School. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Anthony Chiffo. I'm the principal here at Wantagh Middle School. Thank you for joining us. We have a nice little presentation for you tonight. Hopefully, it shouldn't take too long, half hour or so, and then we'll open it up to some questions. I know you always have a lot of burning questions. So just to give you a little background on myself, for those of you who don't know me, I've been a part of the Wantagh School District this is my 21st year in the district. I started in 2001 here as a phys ed teacher at Wantagh Elementary School, and I taught phys ed there for 10 years, and then I was an elementary supervisor there for 1 year. After that, I became the assistant principal at Wantagh Middle School here. I served in that role for 2 years before becoming principal at Forest Lake, and I was principal at Forest Lake for 6 years, and now this is my 3rd year as principal at Wantagh Middle School. So I have a long history here. Wantagh has become a part of my family. It's my second family. I'm very proud of everything that we've accomplished in the past 21 years here, and looking forward to welcoming you into our new middle school family. But my most important job is I'm a dad, and I have 2 children of my own. My son is in 9th grade at Mempum High School in Belmore, and my daughter is in 6th grade at Sawmill Road, and she too is starting middle school next year. She'll be going to Grand. They start in 7th grade at Grand. So I know all too well the fears, the nervousness, anxiety that comes along with having your child finish out in one school and move on to another school. We're going through it right now with my daughter, who's, anxious, a little nervous about going to middle school. So hopefully this presentation will help ease your fears a little bit. We're very approachable, very accessible. Our doors are always open. And, if you have any questions, even after tonight's session, you can always reach out to us, either call the school or set up a meeting or just send us an email, and we'll always respond within 24 hours or so. So the people that you'll meet, as you go through your 3 years here, obviously I just introduced myself. Joining us tonight is our assistant principal, Dr. Scolari. You'll hear from her in just a little bit. Our main office staff, we have Ms. Kenma, Ms. Randazzo, and Ms. Mizuka. Those are the 3 ladies in our main office that if you call or come in at any time, those will be the faces that you'll see. They are the 3 ladies. You can't really see their faces, but they're in the middle there. To the right of that, the lady sitting down with the mask, that is Mrs. Post. She's our main entrance greeter. So if you come in to drop off anything to your child, or if you have a meeting and you're coming in, she'll be the one who takes your ID and checks you in, and she greets the children in the morning as well. And then to the right of that is Ms. Wall. She's our guidance secretary, and she is just across the main office and very much a part of our helping team. Then we have our security guards, who you'll see out and about pretty much every day. These 3 have been with us for a few years, and I anticipate them being with us next year as well. So we have Ron, Ben, and Seth. Ron and Ben you'll see outside. Ben is the guy that usually stands by central administration in the morning when you do your drop-off. He guides cars in. Ron is usually under the colonnade somewhere, and he helps, directing traffic. And then Seth is our afternoon security guard, so he'll be out there at the end of the day during our dismissal. All 3 are very personable, very friendly, and very much a part of our middle school family. Then we have what we call our helping team, and these people that you're seeing up here are probably going to be the people that you communicate with the most, especially the 3 people on the left. That's your child's 3 guidance counselors, Mr. Ward, Ms. Gilly, and Mr. Bloom. The 3 of them, we break it up by alphabet, so if your last name starts with A through F, you'll have Mr. Ward. I think those are still the right letters. Frank, did those change at all? Slightly, yeah. Okay, so it might deviate a touch between, I think, Miss Gilly and Mr. Bloom, possibly. Okay, so I think Miss Gilly might go through N now, but I'm not 100% certain. But we have Miss Gilly, Mr. Bloom, Mr. Ward. Then we have our school psychologists, Dr. Tracy Zlenitz and Dr. Steve Taylor. And they're always out and about in the building. Dr. Taylor is split between here and Wantagh right now, so some of you might know him from Wantagh. Dr. Zlenitz was previously at Forest Lake. Most of her career, this is now her 2nd year, finishing up her 2nd year at the middle school, so some of you from Forest Lake might know her. And then we have our health office, Ms. Zygus, Ms. Brady, and Ms. Pfister is our nurse clerical. Ms. Brady is also our COVID coordinator, so if you had a bout with COVID with your child, or if you were quarantined, you might have had a conversation with her already. And Ms. Zygus is our nurse as well. Then we have our department directors and supervisors, some of which you'll meet this evening. Our director of humanities is Miss Julie Rossley, who is right over here. You'll meet her in just a bit. Our director of technology is Miss Curry. Our director of STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, is Miss Winans, who just walked in right over here. And then we have Miss Jones is our director of fine and performing arts, which is art, music, and also business. She's right over there. You'll be hearing from her shortly. Then we have our director, actually our superintendent of PPS, and that's Mr. Stephen Moran. And then our director of guidance and family and consumer science is who you'll hear from a little bit, Mr. Muzio. And their extensions are on here. I'm going to post this slides presentation on our website at the middle school, on the middle school webpage. So I'll be sending out an email with the link to that. Also, I'll send out a link to these slides, and it'll be posted on the website, so you can just use as quick reference if you need. And also, there'll be a recording of tonight's session on the website as well tomorrow morning at some point. And then, of course, there's our amazing educators. No, they don't always dress like Waldo. This just happened to be our Halloween costume from a few years back, pre-COVID, as you can see. But this is the heart and soul of our building, obviously, is our teachers. And we have a great, dedicated staff. You'll get to know them. They're open. You'll be able to communicate with them as much as you need. And this is just a few of them, actually. And just to give you a little bit of just an idea of I call it our brand. Our guiding philosophy, with our staff, and what guides us every day is the idea that children need to feel cared for before they're available to learn. And we have a saying, it's called Warriors Care, hashtag Warriors Care. Anytime you see anything posted, usually any email that I send out, anything that's posted on social media will always end with hashtag Warriors Care. And it's really the philosophy that students don't care. And this is a philosophy that was shared with me when I first started here back in 2001. I was tasked with, as a phys ed teacher, I was also a coach. And I was tasked with the job of coaching the girls' volleyball team. Now, I was a baseball player growing up. All I really knew was baseball. I coached the softball team here as well, but I was asked to coach the girls' volleyball team, and I was nervous because I didn't know much about volleyball. And I was, they were for those of you who know the program, the volleyball program here has always been superb. So I was taking over a strong program, and I had very little volleyball experience, and I was just nervous that I didn't want to mess it up. So Fran Nacella, who was our athletic director at the time, who's a great mentor of mine, pulled me aside, knew that I was nervous about it, and said, "Ant, don't worry about what you know. Students only care students only care how much you know until when they know how much you care." And that was the one statement that really resonated with me and has carried me through my entire teaching career and now my administrative career. Students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's what we pride ourselves at here at Wantagh Middle School, is making sure that we spend the time building relationships with our students, getting to know them, not just academically, but socially and emotionally, and getting to know what makes them tick, making sure that they understand that we love them and we care for them very much. And once we get that, then they're available to learn, and not until then. So that's such an important factor amongst our entire staff, and it's something that we really pride ourselves on. It's really become our brand, hashtag Warriors Care. So you'll see a lot, you'll hear a lot about that over the next 3 years. Going on with the relationships, one of the things that we really try to do, especially with our sixth grade, is some team building activities. And we're going to talk a little bit about the teaming approach when I bring up Dr. Scolari in just a second. But we do try our best to create and participate in as many team building activities as possible. We had to kind of put the brakes on some of the field trips over the past couple of years, but we're hoping to be able to get back to that. And this was a field trip. These kids in this picture are our current 8th graders. So this was 3 years ago when they were in 6th grade. They went to that trapeze place by Jones Beach. And it was really just a project adventure type trip, but it was really just about team building. And throughout the year, they'll do different activities, different games, different activity days, challenges, things like that, as a gold and black team. And it's really, again, it all comes down to that idea of a family and building relationships with our students. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce Dr. Scolari. She's going to talk to you a little bit about our teaming approach, and then you'll hear from some of our directors and supervisors.
Thank you, Mr. Chiffo. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wantagh Middle School. I'm so happy to see so many faces in person. So teaming in 6th grade. So your children are used to having one teacher all day to teach them math, science, social studies, and English. Once they get to middle school, they will have a team of teachers. They will have a team of teachers, so one of them will teach English, one will teach social studies, one will teach math, one will teach science. With the teaming approach, they'll have the same teachers, and those teachers will plan together. They will plan activities together. They will plan exams to make sure that your children don't have too many tests on the same day. They will plan interdisciplinary projects. They meet with the other teams. So we have Team Gold and Team Black. The 2 math teachers from both teams will meet together to make sure that each team has the same experiences in terms of curriculum, projects, and assessments. The team of teachers meet, I would say, daily. And then the curriculum, the same curriculum, math to math, English and English, they meet, I would say, at least 3 times a week to make plans. So they really work together. It's a big sense of community. They have spirit days, they have competitions, and it's a lot of fun. So these are our Team Black teachers. As you can see there, it's hard to see their faces because it's so far away, but that's the subjects that they teach. And then this is our Team Gold teachers. Each team in 6th grade has an ICT section, so you'll have one ICT section on the Gold team and one ICT section on the Black team. And if your child is in the special class, the self-contained program, they are also on the team. They would be affiliated with Team Gold. So everyone feels included and everyone's part of the team. And many parents will ask, well, once they're on Team Gold or Team Black, does that mean they're on there for life? And no, that's just for 6th grade. And then in 7th grade, we have the Rockets and the Comets, and they mix with all different kids. So just whatever team they're on in 6th grade, that is just for 6th grade, and then they will mix again in 7th grade. Some of the members will be the same, and then they could also mix with others. Another important thing to note is just because they're on a specific team for their core subjects, they will mix with the whole grade for lunch. So all 6th graders have lunch together. And they will mix for specials. So for language and for the electives, they will mix with both teams. So they do have opportunities to mix with other people and friends and get to see them throughout the day, even if they're not on the same team. So to talk about math and science, I'd like to call up our Director of STEM, Mrs. Winans.
Good evening, everybody. So our math program is a variety of programs that are used to help students analyze the steps to the solution and not just the correct answer. Our instructional materials are used to promote deeper student mathematical thinking. We provide push and support, and student performance determines placement in subsequent years. Our science curriculum, we're really happy. You guys are going to be our 4th cohort taking the completely aligned to the new next generation standards from the national level and the New York State Science Learning Standards. The instruction is based on hands-on, minds-on learning. So there's a lot of exploration to maintain that light bulb of curiosity that is very common when students get excited when a science teacher pushes in to their elementary school classes. We really want to maintain that joy of science, that joy of exploration. The content in 6th and 7th grade is designed to cover all of the intermediate standards so that the students will be prepared. All of the students will be taking a Regents either Earth Science or Living Environment in their 8th grade year. Okay, I'll now introduce Ms. Julie Rossley, our Director of Humanities.
Hello, good evening. So when your children are enrolled in English language arts, they'll be covering a variety of skills and learning techniques throughout the year. Something that our teachers support each and every day is the reading and writing workshop model, which focuses on students integrating both their reading skills with their writing skills, because as they build their reading skills, they're also building their writing skills. Our goal is to transfer the skills the students learn in 6th grade across the disciplines, such that projects they work on in English class and writing assignments that they may complete, they also can transfer and use in other courses. For instance, they may do an interdisciplinary project with social studies later on in the year. Additionally, their reading skills that they acquire throughout the school year are integrated into all of the core subjects as well as any secondary subjects as well. Our English model provides a push and support. We have a reading teacher who's in the classroom with the English teacher, usually for half the time. So all students have the ability to have access to a reading teacher. For social studies, we focus on geography and history of the Eastern Hemisphere. We cover the time span from prehistory into the 1300s. And throughout the year, students make connections between the past and the present. The curriculum is based on big ideas and essential questions. So, students will explore the ancient world and see how it impacts our world today. World languages consist of either French, Italian, or Spanish. You're going to be able to fill out a survey in the upcoming days to pick your child's language. And I ask that you give this some great thought, because when you sign up for a language with your child is going to take this language not just in 6th grade, but to carry through until at least 10th grade of high school. Because in 6th grade, the child starts the language, and that's where the basis is, continued in 7th and 8th grade, when the child will take the Checkpoint A exam, and then into 9th and 10th grade, when the child will take the Checkpoint B exam and be able to exit from language or have the option to continue on throughout high school. So when you receive that survey, I ask that you please complete it by February 3rd. At this point, I'd like to call up Ms. Kelly Jones, who is our Director of Fine Arts.
Good evening, middle school families, incoming middle school families. We're excited to welcome you to the middle school music family. As you enter 6th grade, you'll be put into the corresponding group that you participated in at the elementary level. And this would include band, chorus, and orchestra. There'll also be a general music placements for next year for students who have not participated in a performing ensemble during their elementary career. All of these courses take place during the school day, and it is part of their schedule. There are no before school large ensemble rehearsals like at the elementary school. Again, so everything will take place during the school day. Letters will be going home, sharing your 6th grade placement within the next few weeks. And of course, these are placements determined by participation at this moment in time. You can always reach out to your guidance counselor, to the middle school guidance counselor, your current music teacher, or myself to discuss your placement once you receive your letter. That's always open for discussion. We just want to make sure we have the best fit for everyone coming into the middle school. The letter will also contain information about instruments and materials that you'll need for the middle school, so we can start right away and have your students prepared for music the first day of 6th grade. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or any of your current music teachers at the elementary school, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you. And we're going to invite Mr. Muzio.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Frank Muzio. I'm the Director of Guidance. And we have 3 counselors in the middle school, as you saw on the screen before. Mr. Ward for letters A through G, Mrs. Gilly for H through N, and Mr. Bloom, O through Z. Think of your child's counselor as their advocate, as an educator who's knowledgeable about all these academic programs, and someone that you can reach by phone or by email at any time with questions about homework, anything academic, but also about what your child's experiencing socially and emotionally in middle school. Middle school counselors are well-versed and understand that your child in middle school is undergoing more changes to their bodies and their minds at this stage of their lives than at any other time in their life, with the exception of infancy. So feel free to reach out to them just really about what your child is experiencing overall. We have a very busy guidance office. There are students in and out of our office all the time. We encourage that. We want your child to know us, and we want to get to know your child. The more that we know about them, really, the better we can serve them. We do in-class lessons as well, and those focus on areas like cyber safety, coping skills, relationships, career education, as well as your son or daughter choosing right classes for their next level. The counselors and I offer outreach on an as-needed basis, as often as you need in grade 6. Those meetings get more formal in 7th and 8th grade. We have formal meetings, mostly virtual, with parents in 7th and 8th grade. And we offer evening programs once per year, and those topics range from career exploration with your child. We do advanced planning for college, and we also do advanced financial aid training for students, for parents in middle school. So we invite you to take part in those forums as well. And so on behalf of the middle school counselors, I welcome your child to Wanto Middle School, and I wish him or her a happy and successful time with us. Thank you. And next would be Dr. Scolari.
Okay, I'm back. So I know we're going through a lot of information, but we will take all your questions at the end. So don't worry, we will answer any questions you have. So these are just some course offerings for your children. Every student will take English, math, social studies, and science. And then your children have the opportunity to choose a language, French, Spanish, or Italian. They will all have PE. That's mandated. They will be in a music class, band, chorus, orchestra, or general music. And they also will have a chance to take exploratory courses, which we call the wheel. And those are 10-week courses, which means they meet for every quarter. And that's a quarter in art, technology, home and careers, and computer skills. There's also another class that we added a few years ago called Creativemind, which is a class where students do a lot of hands-on projects, critical thinking, working together, kind of like the STEAM lab, the STEM lab, and the Makerspace lab in the elementary schools, a lot of those types of projects. Then there are some students who take additional courses. Some may need some support, so they would take maybe Wilson Reading or Just Words program. They may have resource room. They may be part of the ICT program, so they have an additional skills class. So every single schedule is handmade for every single student, depending on their needs. It's very confusing if this is your first time. Oh, we didn't do this. How many of you in the audience, this is their first time having a middle school student? Child, I should say. Wow. Okay. A lot of you. So you might really not be familiar with what does a schedule work like. So just like in elementary school, they run on a 6-day cycle. So did we. So do we. So it's an odd and even schedule. Our first real period of the day starts second period. Period 1 for us is advisory, and that's also considered like a homeroom. We'll go through that in a little bit. So, and it also runs on an odd and even schedule. So what's really nice about it when we went to this block scheduling is that students, who have math in the morning might be sleepy when they have math, but then the next day they'll have math in the afternoon, they might be a little bit more energetic. Or students who by the end of the day have had enough, the next day they'll get that class in the morning. So their schedule switches. And their lunch for this year was period 6. All 6th graders got lunch period 6. For those of you that are not familiar with the middle school, we have 2 cafeterias, and your children are allowed to choose which cafeteria they want to sit in. As long as there's a table with their friends and they pick their own table, they can sit wherever they want as long as there's room. We'll go through a lot more of those nitty-gritty details in the summer when we have our orientation before school starts. And then they will have their language. If you notice on period 9, their language would be on odd days in the sample schedule, and Creativemind would be on an even day. So the electives, PE, music, language, and Creativemind are an odd and even day schedule. And their wheel courses, the art, tech, FACS, and computers, meet quarterly, but they meet every single day for that one specific quarter. I know in the elementary schools, we started using Schoology last year, so you should all have accounts. I don't know how much they use it, but they will be using it every day in middle school. If you're not familiar with it, I will just click on it. So this goes to the Wanto Middle School website. On the website, there's resources here. There's a secondary parent Schoology presentation and one for elementary parents. So I would suggest on your own time, on your board, maybe Saturday, and if there's really a snowstorm and you have nothing else to do, you can go online, you can look into the Schoology page, you can open up a parent account, or you can just log in once your child gets the Schoology account. For middle school, you can just use theirs. It depends, whatever you prefer. But definitely look and go here, and when you have the Oh, let me get back. Thank you. But what's really neat also is the Schoology app. So this little symbol is the app. So if you have a smartphone, which I think most people do, you can download the app. And when you download the app, oh, forget it. Oh, that's okay. The app, same thing. You would just get all the information. So what is Schoology for middle school? What's really neat, oh, didn't you do it where we? All right. All right, I'll log in. So this way you can see what it looks like. Some of the teachers, I'm not sure how the elementary schools use it, but some of the teachers here have it organized by week. If you're absent, you don't even need to worry about what they did that day. You could just log in and you have access to all the information. No, it's right here. Okay, I know we did it. Okay, so this is a sample math class, 6th grade math class, one of our teachers, Mrs. Van Bargen. And when you log into her Schoology page, there's always going to be an announcement. So this is just the week of the 24th to the 28th. So this week, this is what's happening for the week. You know, if there's any upcoming tests, teachers could put their extra help schedule, reminders about homework, and things like that. As you scroll down, you can see the way she organizes her lessons, her Schoology page is by weeks. So for each week, let's just choose this week. So for this week, I would click on the folder for the week. And then within the week's folder, each day, or sometimes they're combined days, you will have the folders of what they did, the lesson. So on the 24th and the 25th, I clicked on that, and you could see there's all the slides for the day, there's the review, there could be homework. Let's click on this one. It seems like it's a lot, but it's a lot easier when you're doing it on your own. Okay, so this is her presentation for the day. So when the students are doing their homework at night and they need help, you can go back, look at the Schoology page, look to see the notes that they did for that lesson, and you're able to help them. These are all the activities they did for the day. Yeah, I mentioned that. Yep, so this is great for when the children are absent and they can just catch up. Okay, so that's Schoology. All right, next slide. The other important instructional resource for you, which I would suggest also putting it on an app, is Infinite Campus. So for Infinite Campus, I believe in elementary school, is the report card on that? Yeah, okay. So we do have our report card on there. You could view daily attendance, period by period attendance. So if your child is missing from a class, you can get an alert and be like, oh, where were they? They were just in school. I dropped them off. Where did they go? And it could be that they went to the nurse, so they were a minute late to class or something. So, and then it'll adjust it in a few seconds. You could find out all of their assignments that are coming up, grades that they got on their assignments. So let's say as soon as their teacher enters a test grade, you can get an alert and you know right away what your child got on their exam. So it's really cool. It's really neat to really stay on top of your children. I really suggest you have your children get their own ID as well and log in so they can keep track of assignments that they're missing and items that they need to work on. Okay, the other thing I spoke about earlier is first period, when I said the advisory program. You may know as homeroom. This is a great time when the kids come in the morning. Each teacher has an advisory. Mr. Chifo and I share an advisory. We have about 8 students in our advisory. Each teacher has about 8 to 10 to 12 students max. And this is someone that they'll stay with from 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. It's mixed, so they will have 8th graders, 7th graders, and 6th graders mixed with them. And it's actually really nice because the 6th graders will be in the hallway, and then they can say hi to a 7th or 8th grader because they're from their advisory. They're able to ask them questions. They get advice. So they're like, oh, you had that teacher. I had that teacher. A lot of times we will do advisory activities, team building activities. We celebrate birthdays. And it's just like a little family in the morning. And it's just an extra person in the building to keep an eye on your child. So once you get to know who your student's child's advisory teacher is, if you ever have any concerns, child's having a bad day, you can reach out to them, email, and just communicate with them as well. So it's just another person throughout the day, and it's just another way to build relationships with our students. Then we have lockers. So we have lockers like on the left that's like really neat and organized, and there's shelves, and some of them do chandeliers and rugs and wallpaper. You don't need to do all that. Lights, you don't need to do all that. And then most of the lockers look like the one on the right. So they actually start in September looking like this one, and then there, and then there's like food and it smells and whatnot. So I really would suggest that you have your children like clean it out every once in a while. We used to do that. We haven't done that in a while. Usually like right before the December break, we'll do like a locker clean out. We didn't do that this year. Oh, yeah, so we forgot. Just to get through, make sure there's no food, from the beginning of the year, throw out papers and whatnot. And they can never find anything. There'll be like gym shorts, sneakers, water bottles. I don't know. But what's really important is with the lockers that they will get a combination. They all learn how to use it. But please really stress to them not to share their locker number with their friends, especially in middle school for those of you for the first time. 1 minute they're best friends with someone and the next minute it's their worst enemy. And now they have their locker combination and now they give it out to everybody else. And not the end of the world, because if someone needs to change their combination, we can do that. If someone needs to switch lockers, we can do that. We have cameras in the hallway, so we're able to see if someone's doing something to your locker. But we just really you wouldn't want the key to your house being given out by your children to their friends. Same thing with the locker. They keep their phones in there, or you just don't want them doing any horseplay. So as much as they say, oh, it's my friend, and they could know it, or it's their birthday, sometimes they give out their combination because it's their birthday and they want their friends to decorate their birthday for their birthday and whatnot. But just know that they should try not to share it because it is their space and they're responsible for it. So if something happens to that locker inside of it, there's a permanent marker on it, or something's ruined, or there's something's found in it, they're liable for it. So they really should be really cautious with it. Okay, now I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Chiffo just to close up the night with a couple additional remarks.
Nothing quite like the smell of a middle school locker. Thank you, Dr. Scalari. So there's so much to cover, and I always feel like as we're going through this, there's like 20 other things that I've either forgot to throw in there or questions you might have. So that's why we'll give you time at the end to ask any questions, and then we'll meet again in August to kind of go through everything and maybe add some new stuff in there as well. But for us, communication is really, really important, and we really pride ourselves on being accessible and available. I say my door is always open. It's not always open because there are plenty of times where I have, closed door meetings, or I have a phone call with a parent that I, don't want the whole world hearing. So it's not physically always open, but we're always there and we're always available. And if we're not available at the moment, we'll always get to you as quickly as possible. But if you do have an issue, I just want you to know the chain that you should be going through to help resolve your issue. Always, if it's an issue within the classroom, the first person you should be reaching out to, like you do in the elementary school, is the teacher. And it's a lot different this year because instead of having one teacher and a bunch of special area teachers, your child has 7 or 8 different teachers. But like Dr. Scalari explained, they're all a team. So like your core classes, math, science, social studies, and English, they all have the same students. They all meet weekly to discuss the same students. So you really could call any one of the core teachers and be able to have a discussion at length about your child, because they will know your child very well after the first couple of weeks of school. So I would start there. If after speaking to the teacher, or if it's not necessarily related to one of those 4 subjects, your next step would be the guidance counselor for sure. The guidance counselors really become your go-to people. If you stand outside a guidance office, really in any middle school, it's pretty much like Grand Central Station. Kids are in and out of that office all day long. Sometimes they just come in to say hi, because like I said, relationships are important. Sometimes they'll come in just to share something great that happened over the weekend, or they'll have a real problem, or they'll have a social issue that they need to they need help addressing, and that's what our counselors are there for. They know their students very well. They'll call their students down occasionally, to check in, but more importantly, they're there for when your child needs them. And children know in the middle school that they can pretty much go to guidance at any time. Anytime they need, they can get a pass, they can ask their teacher, they can go in between periods. The guidance counselor will then give them a pass to get back to class. So they're there for them. You can also go to the advisor. Dr. Scalari mentioned our advisory program, which is really a great program. It's just like she said, another adult in the building who can help your child, and it's another positive relationship your child can make with an adult. And then, of course, there's our nurse and our school psychologists. Both Dr. Zlenitz and Dr. Taylor are visible around the building at all times. You can find them roaming the hallways. You can find them in classrooms. You can find them in the cafeteria. They really care about the well-being of every child, not just the students on their caseload. So your child doesn't have to, have an IEP or a 504 or have counseling on their IEP in order to interact with our school psychologists. They get involved. We meet with them and the counselors once a week to talk about, different issues going on with students, so we're all on the same page and we know, what the plan is for each student. And they're very much a part of that family, so you can always reach out to your school psychologist if you need help. Then there's always our supervisors and directors, especially if it's a curriculum-based question. You met some of them today. And then Dr. Scolari and I, are always there as well whenever you need us. And I'm fielding calls and emails from parents pretty much all day, every day. I'm on the phone with, a few parents a day. And, we'll always follow up if there's a social issue, if you feel like your child's getting bullied, if whatever it is, if they need help, all these people work together and we're there to support you. You'll also, as far as communication and what to expect from us, I do send weekly emails, just updating everybody on things going on in the building. I call it the Warrior Week in Review. And so you'll get that usually Fridays. Sometimes if I had a busy Friday, I don't get it out Friday, I'll get it out Saturday morning. Occasionally it'll be Sunday morning if I have a busy Saturday plan with the kids. But I think in my 3 years here at the middle school, including through COVID, I think I missed maybe 2 weekend reviews. And one was a recent one when we had that snow day. Sunday night came along and I said, oh, I forgot to do the weekend review because we were off Friday. But you'll always get a weekend review, and it'll be a link to all of our Twitter posts, which I'll talk about in a minute. All of our Twitter posts for the entire week. It's called Wakelet is the program that I use, and it basically combines all of the posts that I make that have Warriors Care attached to it, all into one document that you click the link and you can just scroll down and see all the great things happen in the building. And then I'll just kind of mention important things you need to know. Upcoming meetings, upcoming events for your children. Sometimes it'll be flyers for local organizations. So that's our weekly Warriors Week in Review. And then again, like I said, our doors are always open. So back to social media for a second. So I'm pretty active on social media in terms of promoting the great things that go on in the building. I know as a parent that most of the time, especially middle school, I saw a lot of hands raised for first-time middle school parents. And your child, not quite yet, they're in 5th grade and not really as much in 6th grade. Towards the end of 6th grade into 7th, you're going to start to see a real change in them. 7th to 8th is the biggest change I think you see. They really start to become adult-looking. I can't believe some of the 8th graders when I see them walking around the building, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I knew you when you were like that, and now they look like they're growing little mustaches. It's crazy. But I know along with those changes also comes a little bit of a change in their attitude and less communication with mom and dad. And they'll come home from school and you'll say, how was your day? And you'll get, good. Did you learn anything? I don't know. Yeah, maybe, like that. That's my son, big time. That's how he answers me every day. So my purpose with social media is really to give you a glimpse inside our building. You can't be there every day watching us. You're not roaming the halls and seeing all the great things that are happening. So this is my way of telling the story of our building. It's basically I'm storytelling and telling you all of the great activities that your children are participating in. And I do it primarily through Twitter. But I also everything I put on Twitter, I usually end up putting on Instagram and Facebook as well. So these are our handles, I guess you call them, at Wantagh Middle, and then the Instagram is at the Wantagh Middle. I encourage you to follow us. Start following us now. I always do. My goal is always 3 tweets a day. It doesn't always work out that way, but by the end of the week, I usually catch up, and you'll get 10 to 20, tweets, throughout the week. And, it's just, I walk around the classrooms. I try to be very visible. So is Dr. Scolari, so do our supervisors. Teachers are used to us walking into classrooms on a daily basis. There are days where I get stuck in my office and I can't get around the building. There are weeks that I get stuck in my office and I can't get around the building. But our goal is always to get into classrooms at least one period a day. Teachers are used to it. Kids are used to it. It's important to us that not only teachers are building relationships, but we're also building relationships with our students as well. So, they hear my voice every single morning in the announcements. We also have kids doing announcements with me, and they see our faces in the hallways, outside, getting off buses, when they're going to buses, and in their classrooms. And I'm always walking around snapping shots, of the great things going on, and throw it on social media so you can see. So when they come home and they say they did nothing, you can say, yeah, you're wrong. Look what you did. And you get to show them that they're Insta famous. Okay, so in 7th and 8th grade, your child will be able to participate in sports, at the school sports. 6th grade, we don't have that yet. However, they do have a number of clubs that they can participate in. This isn't all of the clubs. There are a couple of extras, and some of these might not be running. This is just a general idea of the types of clubs that are available. And the clubs meet, I'll show you actually now. If you click where it says clubs, when you get the slideshow, it takes you to our clubs page. And these are the clubs that are currently running. So you can click on any one of these, and it'll take you to that club's page, and you can see when they're meeting, who the advisor of that club is, and just a little brief overview of the club itself. And they usually meet once a month. Sometimes they meet twice a month. Sometimes they meet weekly. It depends on, each club is different, and each club meets specific amount of times. What's that? Okay, so I just want to take you while I'm on the page right now. So this is our main page of the middle school. So if you just go to wantawschools.org, and then you hit select a school, and then hit Wantaw Middle School, that takes you here. We're there already, though. And then right underneath this yellow bar where it says Quick Links, you're going to get a couple of things. This is where you'll be able to find tonight's recording, this slides presentation. You'll also find the selection form for the world languages. And I think that's it for 6th grade, right? And then I also want you to see the morning announcements. If you click that, we update this daily. So it's already, tomorrow's is already up there. So this is what we announce every morning. So our morning announcements consist of the pledge, reading these announcements, then we read happy birthdays. It looks like we have no staff birthdays tomorrow, but we read student happy birthdays as well. We have a program called Caring Warriors. For those of you, I know Forest Lake used to do it. It was called bucket fillers. So basically, if a kid gets caught doing something great or doing something, that makes them a caring warrior, we can nominate, anybody can nominate anyone to be a caring warrior. We started letting kids make nominations this year. Adults nominate kids. Adults nominate other adults. So I have a stack of about 50 or so caring warriors to announce, and every morning we try to announce 1 or 2 caring warrior stories over the loudspeaker as well, really just to help promote kindness. So if you're not sure if your child's club is meeting, or if you want to check the announcements every morning, you can check. Like I said, these are updated every day. So you'll see on Wednesday, February 2nd, we have an art club meeting, Art Honor Society's meeting Thursday, February 3rd. So you can check it as well if you're not sure, because I don't know if they're really listening in the morning. They're in their advisory, building relationships, so they may or may not be listening to the announcements. All right, so what's to expect next? Students are going to be getting, they have Chromebooks, right? In elementary school, you all have them now. So I think Ms. Curry from the tech department will communicate with you, but I think they get to just take their Chromebooks from 5th grade to 6th grade. I don't think they turn them in and then reissue them. So you'll get a notice about that. We're going to have an August orientation with you and your children. That's, we call it the 6th grade picnic, I think we call it, right? Is that what we call it still? I don't even know. So that is usually the end of August, the first week before school starts. That's when we give a tour to the students. We give a tour to you. You can actually walk your schedule. Students will get their schedule on that day. You can walk the building. You can take them from class to class, because that's a huge change from elementary to middle school. Is now they're changing classes. So you'll have an opportunity to do that. You'll hear from us. We'll give you an opportunity to ask questions. I don't know where it's going to take place. Last 2 years, we've done the parent meeting outside in really, really hot weather. We try to keep you all in the shade when we do it. Before that, we did it in the cafeteria. So depending on where we're at, with our COVID regulations, we'll either be outside or inside, but I can assure you it'll be a face-to-face conversation that we'll be having while your children get a tour from our counselors. Then you go and meet them, and then you can walk the building with them. Then you go outside, and we have like a little picnic, fun games, some snacks, some music playing, and they can just meet kids from the other 2 schools. Students, on top of that, will also have a series of orientations. The guidance counselors go into the elementary classrooms, which I think they may have started already. So they go down to the schools, the 3 schools. They meet with their students only, the students that they're going to have. They give them a little, synopsis of what to expect. They do that, I think, twice. And then towards the end of the year, we usually arrange for the students to come visit the school, and they'll get a tour as well. The last year we had to, the last 2 years we had to cancel that, but we did a virtual tour where we created a little video, put it out for the kids to we had what we call our middle school ambassadors, which is one of our clubs, and they kind of walked the building and gave the tour on video, and then we sent it out to the families. So one way or another, we'll have an orientation where they can come and actually get a tour just themselves during the school day, hopefully in person. Yeah, and that's it. So that's pretty much their part of the orientation. It'll all come together again in August. And until then, you can always reach out to your counselors because they're going to be working with your children and with us to build their schedule. If they have a complex schedule with a lot of supports, classes that they need, your counselors will work through that with you. And you'll still be able to choose whatever electives you think your child would like to be a part of. All right, so that wraps up our presentation. Like I said, I know that there's things that we probably missed out or we didn't say, or you still probably have a lot of questions. So we're going to give you an opportunity to ask questions and we'll answer them the best we can. Anybody have any questions? Yes? A question, how can we not put that in our presentation? When does the school day start? Middle School 101. The school day starts at, we open the doors at 8 o'clock is when we start letting students in. 8:16 is when the advisory period starts. So there'll be a warning bell about 5 minutes before that. By 8:16, they're expected to be in their advisory class. Advisory goes from 8:16 to 8:26. And then we have 4 minutes in between every period. So the bell rings at 8:26, and then the first class, which is called period 2, starts at 8:30. And then it's 40-minute classes with 4 minutes in between every period. And that goes to period 10, and it's a 9-period day, but period 10 is the final period, and that ends at 3:02. So students are dismissed at 3:02. Buses usually roll off the property by like 3:10 or so. For the buses, it's a little bit different than elementary school. I know in elementary school, they line up in the gym, and they get walked out bus by bus. Middle school, it's a little less structured. We have all the buses that line up in front of the flagpole, and students come out of the building, go right to their bus. They have to find their bus number, usually after the first day or two. That's easy. We have adults out there on bus duty, helping students find their buses. Once all this foot traffic is cleared and all of the buses are on the bus and the walkers are on their way home, then we let the buses off the property, which, like I said, are usually about 3:10. The first day or two might be a little bit later than that, 3:15, 3:20 or so. Yes? Her question, I'm going to repeat every question for the benefit of the people at home. We have about 112 people watching at home. So her question was, is there a late bus? Yes, we have 3 late buses. I don't know the exact times, but it's like 3:45, 4:15, 4:45, something like that. And there's a north bus and a south bus. In the main office, right as you enter the main office, there's a sheet of paper that lists the bus times, the late bus times, and the loops. And basically, the child has to know if they're north side or south side, and you can know that because we list all the street stops. So if they look down the list and they find their street, and that's on the north bus, they know they're a north bus. If they're lost and they just don't know how to figure out which bus they're on, that's what our security guards are there for. So they'll help. Mr. Seth is our evening security guard, and he does that every single day, helps kids find the right late bus. And they usually just wait right under the colonnade at the times they're supposed to go. And it's also posted on the website. You can find it if you just peruse through our website. Our website is chock full of resources, so you can find that in About Montauk Middle School in that section as well. Yes, in the back. Okay. So, yep. Her question was about lockers. She wanted to know if the lockers are located near their core subjects. We try to put the students' lockers near their advisory class, because that's the first class that they go into. So we put their lockers near there so they can go to their locker first thing in the morning, grab their books for their first couple of periods. Usually, we'll advise them to grab their books for their first 2 subjects, which takes up 3 periods. So it could be English and math or whatever. And then when the period changes, so that'll take up period 2, 3, and 4. After period 4, go to your locker again, get your whatever you need for period 5, and then lunch is period 6. So you usually go to the locker again before lunch and after lunch, and then after lunch, grab your books that you need for your afternoon classes. So we try to avoid having them go every period, and the teachers will work through that with them. They'll go over that. The first couple of days will be, locker management, 101, just telling them, giving them a strategy on what to do and when the best time to go to their lockers is. We'll have kids that carry the books around all day. We try to discourage the big backpacks. We try to stick with the drawstring bags because the backpacks get a little cumbersome. We're not that crazy about it, but we just encourage them to use the string backpacks if possible. Yes, in the back. Have we done that? Okay. Right. So her question was, would you put an incoming sixth grader in the same advisory as a sibling who's in 7th or 8th grade? We usually don't, but it's not like we would never. If that was a request you had and you wanted to, we could, but we usually try not to. Okay. Yes. Usually not, but if you request it, yes. Twins, as far as the team, we try to put them on the same team in most cases, right? We still do that? Yeah. So same team. So like if, you and your twin will both, you and your two, children will be in the gold team, for example, not in the same classes, but they'll have the same set of teachers, which means they'll have the same work and basically pacing the same way together. Yes. Hmm? I'm going to turn that one over to Ms. Jones. His question was, sorry, you're going to have to repeat the question. His question was for music selection, what if they're into band, you said band and orchestra or band and chorus, right? Yeah. Oh.
They absolutely can choose. The music teachers have gone through and actually all of them have, if they were both, they were given a first and a second. You'll probably get a letter stating the band or orchestra first, but chorus is absolutely an option. And if that's the one you want, then you just let us know and we can make that change.
So for the people at home, her answer was basically you can choose. If you're in two groups, you choose which one you most want to be in. Now, another question that has come up, Ms. Jones, and just correct me if I'm wrong, is, what if they're in a performing group and they don't want to be in that performing group, or they want to join the chorus because they've been in band? Again, you can do that. If you have never been in band and would like to join band, this question comes up all the time, what can they do? I'm going to give you the mic so the people at home can hear you as well. I'll come to you.
This is the time. If your student really wants to do a band or orchestra ensemble, 6th grade is pretty much the time that you really have to get involved in one of those groups. We will do everything we can to get your student caught up, but we really encourage any time between. You can even join now. We're mid-year. It's a perfect time to reach out to one of the instrumental teachers at the elementary level to get involved there. We'll take anyone and everyone. But over the summer too, we'll have all kinds of resources for you to help your student get prepared and even perhaps suggest some outside lessons just so they can come to the middle school and be really prepared and feel confident on that instrument. But this is the chance. This is your time. Please, please, please participate in one of those ensembles if you so choose.
Yes, in the back.
Just as a follow-up, is there anything in the curriculum that we're going to child
Well, it's more of a scheduling issue. So if a student, because they have to take a certain amount of classes, they have to take a language, they have to take PE, there's just not enough periods in the day for them to take both band and chorus or both band and orchestra or whatever it would be. So it's really more, there's nothing that prohibits it legally, but it's more of a scheduling issue, like we just don't have the space in the day to do that. There'll be opportunities, I believe, as they move on through school. You want to just address that quick?
There's our clubs outside of school, especially for those chorus students who are perhaps very strong in band or orchestra. We have our a cappella group that meets after school. And the schedule does open up as students go through up into the high school, and there is opportunity for them to be in anything from drama, which incorporates the arts there, or singing chorus and play in band per se. But the middle school is such a tight schedule, but there are those opportunities outside of the school day as well. Sure. Sure. So the question is that choice, much like the foreign language, kind of what you're married to for that duration? And the answer is no. We really want the student to be successful. We do ask that, you do make that commitment for the school year, but, if the end of 6th grade, we really are, orchestra is not our thing, but we really want to sing, we would absolutely make that choice and make that change. But it's a conversation to absolutely have with your music teacher and then with your guidance counselors and myself.
Also, if you have a second, on our website, there's a link to the 7th to 8th grade orientation that was about 2 weeks ago. You might want to take a look at that just to see what is in store for them when they get to 8th grade. We have a really nice elective program as 8th graders, and the schedule does open up, and they have a little bit more choices to take things to pursue areas that they're really interested in. And we have different electives in all subject areas, including music. We have an intro to piano course that we offer. We have a garage band course which we offer, which is like an audio engineering. So there's also a jazz band. I think you mentioned the a cappella group. So there are opportunities as they move through their middle school career, and I think when they get to high school, more opportunities like that open up as well. Yes? Okay. All right. So his question was, are all the clubs after school? And I believe the answer to that is yes. I can't think of a club. We do have an early bird program, which is before advisory, which is the high school period 1. But in the early bird program, we offer reading support services, Wilson support services. In 7th grade, you'll have an opportunity to take health in the morning if you want to add another elective to your day. And for the first time for 8th graders, we're offering PE as an early bird as well. But the clubs are all after school, and they start usually at like 3:10, around there. Okay.
So let's fast forward after 6th grade, 7th, and they're allowed to play sports.
Mm-hmm.
Clubs coordinate with whatever sport the child plays, so that
Great question. So he said when they go to 7th and 8th grade and they play a sport, do the clubs interfere with their ability to participate in the sport? Most of the athletic sports practices start at 3:30. And the clubs usually start at 3 o'clock. So a student can go to the club. They're encouraged to go to the club as well as extra help. This is one other thing we forgot to mention. Extra help is offered Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays as well. Each teacher will have their own schedule posted for extra help on their Schoology page. So like science might be Tuesday, math might be Wednesday, whatever it is. So we highly encourage students to go to extra help, even when they're playing in a sport. And coaches know that is the priority. That comes first, and if they're late to a sport, we just ask that they bring a pass from wherever they were. So if they were at their club, bring a pass to your coach. They will not be penalized, and the coaches know that, and especially for extra help. One other thing we also offer is a program called Homework Central, which is offered Tuesday through Friday. I believe it's not offered on Monday. So Tuesday through Friday, there's a teacher that is in the library each one of those days after school from 3 to 3:45, and your child can just go there any of those days and work on their homework, and they'll have a teacher there to help support them with their homework as well. And a lot of kids take advantage of that, so I highly encourage your child, especially if they're struggling, if there's no extra help available that day, go to Homework Central, get your homework done, and then they get home and they have the rest of the evening to themselves. Yes? Her question was, do they get textbooks or is it all on the Chromebook? A lot of it is electric now. A lot of it is on the Chromebook. There are some subjects that do have textbooks, however. Most of the textbooks stay in the class. We try not to have them carrying back and forth all that much, but there are some that do have textbooks. But I wouldn't stress because we're going digital mostly on most topics now at this point. Yes? I'm glad you brought that up. Her first question was, are they required to keep their cell phones in their lockers? Okay, so I know every kid has a cell phone, or most kids, not every kid. Most kids have a cell phone by the time they get to 6th grade. In past years, it used to be you're not allowed to have a cell phone in school. Then it became it must stay in your locker. As a parent, I don't know if I'm comfortable making them keep it in a locker because they could keep their locker open. It could get lost, whatever. We're not that strict in terms of where they keep the phone. We allow them to keep it in their backpack. We allow them to keep it in their locker. We even allow them to keep it in their pocket. I don't make a big deal out of it. What they can't do is keep it on during the day and use it during the day. So I know they have it on them, and I understand as a parent, you want your child to have their phone when they leave the school building. You want them to be able to communicate with you. But at middle school, it really becomes a problem, and we deal with it on a daily basis with kids, texting each other, texting their parents, taking pictures of each other. So we really try to keep a close eye on that, and we really try to crack down on that. I just sent an email out to the whole school in my weekend review last week, basically reminding students that, and reminding parents that if a student is seen in the hallway, even just holding their phone, we're going to take it away. The staff knows that they take it, it brings it to my office, I label it, I put it in a little bin, and the first time it happens, I give it back to the student at the end of the day, and if it happens continually, usually the second time, we'll hold it, and the only way to get it back is if a parent comes, picks it up. And we do that because we want them to understand that they should not be on their phones. Too many bad things happen when kids have their phones at the middle school level. It's a distraction. Lunchtime is a disaster if they're all on their phones. We want them to work on face-to-face communication. We don't want them buried in their phones. And most importantly, we don't want them using their phones throughout the day. You know, if anything happens during the day, that if they're recording it, it's a big no-no. So the girls making TikToks in 6th grade all the time. We just had to ban that, make it clear that if you're doing a TikTok in school, it's subject to suspension. You cannot do that at all because you don't know who's in the TikTok, you don't know who's in the background. They're posting it on their TikTok pages. Not happening. We use social media to promote positive use of social media because middle school age children are still learning and they don't know how to use it productively and positively, and they end up using it in a negative way. We just had a program called Don't Press Send that was all about the dangers of social media. It's a great program. 612 paid for it, which is our PTA, and I was very impressed with the speaker, and it really resonated with some of our students. So it was good to just kind of reiterate to them their digital footprint, means a lot. When we were kids, we didn't have that. We didn't have a digital footprint. We weren't posting our whole lives on social media, and kids now have that, and that will affect them down the road. So we really try to teach them that, especially when they're going to colleges. In the presentation, she showed how colleges look at kids' social media pages, and if they're going to give a kid a scholarship, especially for a sport, and they realize that they're posting terrible things on social media, they will take that scholarship away. So that was one of the things that we reiterated to the students, and I think it hit home to them. Did I answer both your questions? I kind of went on a tangent there. Yes, the question was, do they change for PE? Yes, they change for PE. So they have actually 2 lockers. They'll have their school locker and they'll have their PE locker. The PE locker, I believe you're allowed to bring your own master lock in, but you have to give the combination to the teacher. We have a number of locks as well, but I think they allow them to bring their own lock in for that. But in school, the school locker is attached to the locker, so they'll get assigned a combination. Any other questions? Yes? So this year, it's up there at about, 30? 27? It's usually 27 to 30, depending on enrollment and the number of sections that we run. I think this year for you all, it's going to be about 28. That's roughly, I think, where it's going to land. It give or take a student or two. It could be 27, could be 29. But what's that? Yeah, it depends on, who doesn't come to the middle school, who we get, what entrance we get at the last minute, but it usually hovers around that area. Okay, in the white. Okay. So her question was, how does the Horizons program work in middle school? So Horizons only goes one more year. So if your child's in Horizons as a 5th grader, it only goes one more year for 6th grade. It's kind of evolved over the past few years. What it's become this year and moving forward is basically it's a Creativemind class, but it's a little bit, they do more advanced projects in that Creativemind class. So Mr. Sposito, I think, is the one who teaches it this year. And he just does projects that are a higher level than the Creativemind class that every other student takes. And it's just every other day for the whole year. And the reason we did that is because the Horizons, when kids would go to Horizons, they missed out on Creativemind. And we always felt like the two topics were pretty similar, and the two classes were pretty similar, so we just kind of merged them and just created some higher level projects for the Horizon students. Yes? Okay, so her question is, what happens in 7 through 12 if Horizons ends after 6th grade? We do have an honors program. It has nothing to do with the Horizon students. It basically, for math, when they go into 7th grade, based on their grade point average in 6th grade, and is it 95 or 92? 92. If you have a 92 average over the course of the year in 6th grade, you'll get recommended for what we call Math 7H. And Math 7H is an accelerated math course that leads to algebra in 8th grade, which is a New York State Regents class. It's a high school level class. And then there's Math 7. If a student is excelling in Math 7, but didn't go into 7H, but is excelling in Math 7, there are avenues that child can take to get into the algebra program as well. And kids that take 7H, if they're struggling with it, they don't necessarily have to go into algebra. They could go into just Math 8 as an 8th grader. And the same for science. Science 7 is not an honors science program, but how you do in Science 7 will determine which science program. Now, our 8th grade science program is really 2 levels of honors. We have a living environment, which is an honors level high school class, and we have an earth science class, which is also a high school Regents class. The earth science is considered for 8th grade a little bit higher, so it's a little bit stricter standards to get into. You have to maintain a 95 average in Science 7. And the living environment is, like I said, it's a challenging course. Every student in the school will take that. So they'll leave middle school with Regents credit, either through living environment or through earth science. If you listen to our 7th to 8th grade orientation, Mrs. Winans really goes into the 2 tracks for the 2 programs, because the earth science program leads into a LEAPS program in the high school. Any other questions? Yes? So her question was, can her son have peanut butter and jelly in middle school? Yes, so our cafeteria is nut-free, meaning we don't serve any nut products. Students are allowed to have peanut butter products. We do have students with allergies. We try not to do, it used to be called the ALF table, which is the allergy-free table. We don't do that, but if a student does have an allergy, we do make sure that the students that are sitting with them know that they can't bring peanut products in. We don't really have food in the classrooms, so it's really not an issue. Occasionally, home and careers, obviously, they're cooking all the time, and they'll always use nut-free products. But they are allowed to have bring peanut products into the cafeteria. We just have to be mindful of students who have allergies. Don't be bashful. Anyone else? Okay, go ahead. So the question was, how many exploratory courses can they take in a year? In 6th grade, they're taking 4. It's tech, art, computer, and home and careers, which is called FACS, Family and Consumer Science. So they'll take those 4. And then Creativemind is not really, it's an exploratory course, but that every kid will take as well. If they have support services, they may have to give something up. They may have to give up the music, or they may have to give up one of the wheel courses or the Creativemind, but that's something that'll get worked out between the counselor and your child and you, and your counselors will communicate with you, so you can make that decision on which course you want to give up. And then as they go through in 7th grade, there's an option for a course called Research and Debate, and they also have options, they have to take health for a quarter of the year. They can then take, same thing, art, tech, FACS, and then in 8th grade, it really opens up, and we have about 15 to 17 really cool elective programs: robotics, modern food, ultimate chef, which is like taking off this year. It's such a popular course. So we have a lot of choices for your children, a lot of art classes, animation, ceramics, digital art, digital photo. So those are all courses that they can take when they get to 8th grade, and they can take more than one. Some kids can take 3, depending on how the schedule breaks down, and if they're willing to come in the morning to free up more time during the day. So we really custom build every kid's schedule. We try to give them as many options as possible. I think the 8th grade program is probably what I'm most proud about at Wantagh Middle School. Did we answer all your questions? Oh, all right, one more. Right, so her question is, how does the planning from 6th grade to 7th grade work in terms of planning ahead? Your counselors will meet with your children throughout the school year to plan ahead for 7th grade. There's not too many choices to make from 6th to 7th. That's why we don't have a parent meeting for 6th into 7th. 7th into 8th is really when the meetings happen, so, I mean, the changes happen, so we have a parent meeting for that level. But for 6th to 7th, it's really just, you'll get a letter from me, which will basically explain the requirements for the math honors program, and it'll also offer the research and debate course, which we used to have requirements where you had to get into research and debate, but we've since changed that really any kid who wants to take research and debate can take it. We lay out the suggested criteria for that course, and what kind of child will excel in a course like that, and what kind of child may not want to take a course like that, and then we'll let the parents decide. Because again, if you take that, you're giving something up, so you're probably giving up a half year of tech and a half year of facts or whatever, but again, it's up to your child in that case. It's a great course. Mrs. Pachulo, one of our English teachers, teaches it, and we have some kids who are really excelling in it. Yes. So she asked if children are allowed to leave the building during the day, like an open campus type of thing, and the answer is no. I mean, a parent has the right to sign them out, if you want. We discourage it because really, lunch is a social time, and that's a time where they're building relationships, and it's important, even if they're struggling socially, it's important that they're in the building during that time to work on that. We do have occasionally parents will take their kids out for appointments. A rare occasion, they'll take them out for lunch and bring them back. Again, that's not something we encourage, but kids are not allowed to leave the building on their own under any circumstances. Not 7th, 8th either. In high school, is it all grades? 10th grade and up? So in high school, it's 10th, 11th, and 12th is an open campus. 9th grade is not allowed to leave yet. You're welcome. All right, that's it. All right, everybody, so just again, what to expect from us. You'll get an email from me tomorrow thanking you for coming. You'll have all the links. You'll get a link for the language selection that you'll have to fill out and submit. Then I think you'll be getting something from Ms. Jones about the music selection. That'll be coming a little bit later in February. And like I said, if you have any questions, if your child has any special needs that you need us to come up with a plan for, we're here. We will work as a team. If your child has an IEP and you have annual reviews coming up, our staff will be at those annual reviews so they start to learn about your child and their needs. And we're just here for you, and we're excited to build new relationships. I'm excited to have some of my old Forest Lakers coming up and joining us. Whoop, whoop. And can't wait till you're a part of our middle school family. And thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. Have a great night.